For 50 years, some of the top stock car racers in all of North America have been tested on the hollow grounds known simply as Dega. The track has been home to some of fast speeds and the major heartbreaks in all of NASCAR. It's the highest of highs and the lowest of lows, with massive triumphs and massive crashes. Tonight, more than 25 drivers will take to the high banks of this legendary superspeedway for a good cause, here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Good evening and welcome to the virtual Talladega Superspeedway in Talladega, Alabama, for the Sim Racers for Mental Health Breast Cancer Awareness 250. I'm Justin Prince. Alongside the booth tonight is Adam Young. Behind the scenes is our director, Joe Peak. UCC cameras provided by Ducky Beard. Now, Adam, tonight's charity event will see these drivers reach speeds as high as 200 plus miles an hour, as to be expected on the super speedways. What can you tell us, though, about this specific track known as Talladega?
Well, right there on your screen, pretty easy to get around this place when you're going solo. 33 degrees of banking in the corners. Of course, it does vary just a little bit between the corners. Not that much, 2.66 miles around, making it one of the, actually, I think, the longest track in NASCAR, even with the road courses factored in. And of course, it's been around, as you mentioned, over 50 years now. Actually celebrating its 50th anniversary here this year on September 13th, just this last race was. So it gets exciting around here, especially when we cram all these cars in together, a little bit more wide open than like what Daytona is, but man, it produces some exciting action. And the biggest thing about this that a lot of people forget, you got any road racers watching this, maybe just familiar with normal ovals, the start-finish line is not in the tri-oval. You have to go past the tri-oval and past pit road to find the start-finish line here.
Yeah, that's one of the main tropes with this racetrack, and it's caused a lot of crazy results trying to get to the start and finish line. As these drivers work their way around for practice, they have about 10 minutes before they start qualifying. Let's take a look at the race details for tonight. To reset things, these drivers will be driving the Cup cars this evening in fixed setups along this racetrack here at Talladega. The distance, 54 laps to be precise. They do have a fast repair available to them, as well as 100% fuel in this exhibition race. The track temp is already very high as well, around the low 110 degrees Fahrenheit at the moment. For this event, 76 degrees is the air temp with partly cloudy skies, meaning that track temp could fluctuate as this race progresses, Adam.
Yeah, and that could make a difference, especially since we're running those fixed setups here from iRacing. Track temperature is definitely going to play a role in the pack, particularly. I mean, these cars already do get a little bit of tight pack. That could very well be how we see maybe a big one get triggered later if people aren't careful and be able to hold it down on that yellow line when they're on the bottom.
And of course, as mentioned, this is a charity race tonight, raising funds for the National Breast Cancer Foundation. The NBCF has been part of every step of the journey for providing breast health education, early detection services, and helping a hand to those facing breast cancer. On average, over 80% of their spending is directed back into the programs that support women facing breast cancer. The NBCF has provided, for example, over 1 million breast cancer health and patient navigation services and over 1.7 million breast health resources to women in need. Join in helping women now by making a gift today. You can find that link down below on your comment section in the description to this broadcast tonight, or at fundraise.nbcf.org/give 25186 to give a donation today. These drivers driving with breast cancer awareness paint schemes for this special event. There are a couple prizes to be a note of, though, for tonight. The winner does get $15 for this evening. One random person, if 20 or more cars finish at the checkered flag, gets $5, and one random person with one of those paint schemes will get an additional $5. So there is some money on the line tonight, but overall, the focus is one thing: raising money for a good cause out.
It is, and you know, that's one of those causes that I think it's touched a lot of people's lives. It's been a pleasure being involved in many charity broadcasts here on GSRC, and get to add this one to the list. I'm expecting a good show here today, and maybe somebody can come away with just a little bit of money on their own with either driving the paint schemes or, of course, winning the thing. Winner gets $15. I mean, there's a lot to go for here for tonight. Now, of course, in order for us to have that finishers, though, we probably want to try to avoid the big one, but that one fast repair should help us reach that goal.
Yeah, you brought it up right there. The big one is a possibility. There have already been a couple crashes with drivers trying to tandem draft and crashing by accident down the backstretch or turning their tandem partner here. How difficult do you think it will be tonight to try and avoid that type of attrition? And especially try bump draft.
Yeah, I know from experience it can be tough. You know, just with majors races at Daytona, a few Talladega races, A-Class of my own, it can be difficult. And, you know, it got brought up a lot if anybody watched the actual NASCAR Cup race at Talladega, even though it was rain delayed and everything else this past a few weeks ago. It's modeled in iRacing, and we found this out a long time ago about the shape of the noses, particularly with the Camaro and with it being pointed. If you're not just absolutely straight flush with one of these flat rear bumpers, if you're a Camaro and you're the one pushing, you very well could push somebody off to the side. So that's one thing these guys got to watch out for as far as the different car makes out there.
I'm actually glad you brought that up because the Ford and Toyota Camrys both have rounded noses, meaning they're able to lock those bumpers a bit easier. And as was discussed in the real-world broadcast, a lot of drivers actually prefer to bump draft a bit to the right because of how the tape is laid out on that front nose, as you can see a little bit there, to try and get cool air to the front, to the radiator.
Yeah, and that's going to be one thing that you might see if a couple of guys make some adjustments through the day as far as how much tape they're using, what kind of pack racing we're seeing. If the pack gets broken up and we see these guys in smaller groups, you might see people maybe even add a little bit of tape. Of course, adding some tape will help out with straight line speed and a little bit of extra downforce. But tape adjustments can be something that you got to watch out how you're angling your draft. You know, right there, you can kind of see with the 35 machine. I don't have his name right in front of it. It's Wesley Fuller. You kind of see how he's sticking himself out just to the right there, going in the corners. And you're seeing a lot of those guys do that just to get a little bit of air on that front end and cool those cars some.
Now, of course, you can see a lot of the time to the left side of your screen as these drivers continue to practice. Those times have been progressively changing as some groups get larger and larger inside. At the top of that board is Jack Wells, Tony Edmondson second, Jason Honchell in third, Alexander Cognac in fourth. Rounding out the top five is Tyler Dixon. We'll see a lot of drivers tonight that you'll see across the various broadcast networks, including series here on the Global SimRacing Channel, part of this race. We've seen Robert Bisson Jr., for example, in practice. We've seen guys like Tyler Fode, that is very strong at these super speedways. We're also going to have the chance to see one of our own tonight race on the circuit. Sean Ambrose in the 15 machine will be racing this evening, a part of this charity event.
Yeah, you know, good to see Sean out there. I don't get to call many races that Sean's in. Usually it's the other way around. So it'll be good to see how well he can do here tonight. And actually, you know, he's not doing too bad for himself out in the speed chart right now. They're sitting seventh. Jack Wells at the top of that right now, looking at Tyler Fode, who's sitting in sixth. Now, practice speeds at Talladega don't have all that much bearing on things because a lot of it depends on what kind of pack you end up with in practice, and it may not necessarily reflect real world conditions once we get going here in a little bit. But even then, you'll see guys, you'll see the quick ones still try to rise to the top.
Yeah, and just wanted to make sure, of course, who they can ride with. Can they be able to work together? Some team drivers do have teams they can work with for this event tonight. Others, such as the 34 machine, were asking, who do you want to work with me? There are some drivers that are going to be potentially seeing each other for the first time. And it's going to be interesting once qualifying begins, who prioritizes track position, Adam, and who prioritizes staying in the back to miss the big one.
You know, and I've seen it time and time again, and yes, I've been a victim of it, is staying in the back and staying in the back too long, and you miss your opportunity to try to go up to the front by waiting too long. Maybe there's not any kind of cautions or anything else like that, you know. And I'll tell you, just from personal experience, Justin, I've gotten more and more to the point where in these restrictor plate races, I want to try to get to the front and keep everything behind me instead of in front of me, just because I've been bit by it too many times. But still, it can work out, though, if it's done right.
To be honest, that's how I usually draw these kind of racetracks. Hope the crashes happen behind you. Keep as many cars behind as possible. Drivers such as Sean Ambrose, who we just mentioned there, have said they intended to fall in the back and cruise, as that is potentially the strategy for some of the drivers. It is a one-stop race, we should note, though, in terms of fuel. The max fuel mileage is about, depending on how you draft it, if you leave pack, etc., 31 to 33 laps for tonight's race. So they do have to pit once, at least, for fuel.
And it would not surprise me, especially with full sun beating on the track, everything else. So we see some guys come down pit road, maybe when they get a chance for, at the very least, right side tires. Left side's probably going to be able to go the entire rest of the way. The entire way. But right sides, if you get a chance, it might help your handling just a little bit, especially if you're on that bottom line, to be able to kind of hold her down.
Drivers just about all done with practice and all set to go for qualifying here. Again, these drivers will have 2 laps, 5 minutes to set their fastest time. A lot of drivers may elect to stay out of the qualifying session and have one of the earliest pit stalls. Others will probably want the track position. We're about to find out who's going to go win and see who's going to be able to qualify in the pole. Jason Honchell is the first of the drivers to get onto the racetrack as we're underway for qualifying here, Adam.
One thing that you'll notice, if you're not familiar with restrictor plate racing, once these guys get onto the track, they got it right around to the backstretch, usually under the yellow line. But once they get up onto the track, they're going to go right to the high side. And actually, you're going to have to ignore the first timed laps that you see guys put down, because it'll be the second lap that will be the quickest, because they'll ride the high side until they're coming to the white flag to run their last lap, and that'll be their quick lap.
And you can see Concha already up to the top line trying to gather up speed. Now we're going a little bit lower than I think most people would like off turn 4 there that time. Of course, you got to remember this year was a brand new Superspeedway package that was debuted in the Cup Series. That went from the restrictor plate to the tapered spacer, added that gigantic spoiler that cuts a hole in the air, and as some drivers describe, makes it very difficult to block the run. So it's a lot of adjustments some drivers have had to make, and some drivers have ended up having to pay the cost of not being able to adapt to what they were used to, say, in the restrictor plate era.
And just like in the real world here at iRacing, it's gone through a couple of different iterations of the restrictor plate model, whether it be the aerodynamic package or the engine package, or both in this case. I mean, this was probably the biggest single change that we've had. You'll see the guys that can adapt, and you see the guys that have a little bit of trouble with it. And, I'll be totally honest, Justin, I haven't seen a lot of these guys on restrictor plate races to really know who has the best adjustment, but you'll see the cream rise to the top, just like what I've been saying, and who's able to get to the front fast. Those will be the guys that you'll find well adjusted. Now, of course, problem is going to be staying up there.
Lots of cars are now on the racetrack. Double digits of drivers currently qualifying, including Andreas Nunez, meanwhile, in his Toyota Camry, sponsored by Pennzoil. His first time at the stripe at 52.6. Drivers in the 52.8s to 53 flats for their first attempts around the racetrack. You can see, as mentioned, right down to the bottom side is that Pennzoil machine. Blake Trawick, another driver we see a lot on the Global SimRacing Channel, is driving his breast cancer awareness pink Moo car on that top line, trying to build up speed in the 56.
Yeah, and you'll see him here in just a little bit start to come down to the bottom. Here he comes, using that run down from the banking, going through the tri-oval as he comes across the start-finish line. Now he'll just ride that yellow line all the way around. You don't want to get off of that yellow line too much. Now the trick is, coming out of 2 in particular, is you'll see some guys sometimes will drift a little bit more higher, just to try to not scrub off speed to hold it down. But that's where the biggest art comes into in qualifying at these races.
Let's keep an eye on Tower 40 because a lot of the drivers have already finished their second laps. Currently, Edmondson's on top of the board with a 52.1, followed by Tyler O'Neill with a 52.2. Tower 40, 52.201. That gets him onto the outside front row for the time being. A decent qualifying run for the number 40.
Very surprised. You saw there he was off the banking in the trial. You don't see very many guys do that successfully, but he did, and so far sitting on the front row.
Well, I was about to say, I've seen that from a couple drivers, and their reasoning for, say, doing that is, while you can shed off a lot of speed, at the end of the trial vote, they feel they can gain an extra couple 100s or gain a tenth or two by cutting underneath that yellow line. However, it depends really partly driving style, because a lot of times you can match, if not be faster, by staying above that yellow line regardless.
Yeah, that might be the difference too between having the fixed set here and having the open sets and everything else. I'm a little bit more used to running, and it also might have something to do now with this big honking spoiler on the back of these things they've got now too. But that's something you won't see guys pull off a lot during the race, that's for sure.
Drivers are all finished up with qualifying here, Adam. 17 drivers took qualifying times. 26 drivers made it into their garage areas in time. Let's have a chance to take a look at your starting grid for tonight's Breast Cancer Awareness 250. On the pole, it's Tony Edmondson with a 52.177. He'll start alongside Alan Wilson III, who jumped in front of Tyler Fody. He was bumped down to third position by about just over 1/100 of a second. Tyler O'Neill will start in fourth with William Kruzka, rounding out the top 5 starting positions in the 6th machine. Robert Bisson Jr. in the Precision Racing League sponsored car starts in 6th, with Jamie Dodds and Blake Traywick starting inside the top 8. Round at the top 10 starting positions tonight, Adam, Tyler Dixon and Brendan Jackson.
Yeah, taking a look at the 11th spot, find Jason Houndshell. Alongside him be Stephen Rada in row 6. Row 7, Stephen Stiegelman and Wayne White Jr. They'll be in 13th and 14th. Row 7, David Westergreen in 15th. Andres Nunez in 16th. Alexander Cognac and Brad Cross will make up row 9. And row 10, without setting times, you'll find Jared Mogard, Brandon Johnson. And then moving on to the next group.
The rest of the drivers, again, have not recorded times. All on provisionals. Wesley Fuller, 21st. Jack Wells, in 22nd. With Josh Walker, 23rd. Sean Ambrose in the back in 24th with Brett Jones and Daniel Meguson rounding out the top 26. Those are the drivers that made it to the grid for tonight's action here at the Talladega Superspeedway. Once again, 33 degrees of banking here at the Superspeedway. Very high speeds. Expect drivers to be up as high as 200 plus miles an hour a majority of this event today. Track temperature as we get ready for the green flag, 107 degrees, a little bit lower than in qualifying and practice, but the air temp is still at 76 degrees with some high winds about 10 miles per hour. They're currently facing the grandstands off of turn 4 in the tri-oval. Drivers getting all set to go and buckled up behind their seatbelts and behind the pace car as it begins to roll for tonight's 54-lap event.
Now, I know you've called a few more of these Sim Racer for Mental Health races here, Justin. So you can correct me if I'm wrong. In iRacing, is standard iRacing, there is no actual yellow line rule. Now, some leagues, in fact, many leagues, put in their own rule for any kind of post-review. Does the Sim Racers for Mental Health, do they have any kind of rule for driving below the yellow line in this series, Justin?
That's actually a good question, and believe so, as that's definitely got to be frowned upon for the positions. However, we have seen in some situations, say in the last lap, there's an incident, you're scrambling to make sure you get to the line, as well as keep your car straight. It's going to be curious to see what happens once we get to that point. I will say, though, potentially see drivers drop beneath that line to drop back in the field to go to the back of the pack, Adam.
Yeah, which, of course, even in the real world isn't a problem because you're losing positions as opposed to trying to gain positions. But I guess it'll just be something that we'll have to see. Mustang pace car, of course, with its lights off. Tony Edmondson and Alan Wilson get ready to take these guys down to the green flag. So get pretty exciting as these guys get ready to turn it up.
Indeed, these cars working their way through turn 3. Again, Tony Edmondson will bring them to the green flag. in his Ford Mustang, the 43 car. On the outside line, it is Alan Wilson III, driving the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society machine, fighting blood cancers in that dark gray, red, and white car. Drivers all set to go. Again, the restart zone for today's races is going to be all the way right before that start and finish line towards the end of the tri-oval. It's a very long way, not just to make the checkered, but to get the green lights and the green flag to hit the loud pedal. All the drivers working their way towards that starting zone to begin this year's edition of the Breast Cancer Awareness 250. Edmondson, the control car in the 43 machine as they approach the starting zone. Green flag waits for them up at the stand. We're off and away and racing from Talladega.
Already just a little bit of pushing there. Tyler Fody on the back there of Tony Edmondson, and even on the outside row trying to get some pushing here. As I thought for a second, it looked like Tyler O'Neill was going to try to go through the middle. Already thought better of it. Middle line's typically not going to work out the greatest here in the early stages of a race, but he drops down the inside line. Outside line already trying to get some momentum going.
Yeah, already drivers starting to drop the back as well at the rear end of this lead group. 5 drivers amongst the main draft to the bottom side off the start, while Alan Wilson III leads the outside line, getting some help from Robert Bisson Jr. along with Blake Traywick. Drivers making their way down the front stretch.
Yeah, Robert Bisson Jr. there, he's already coming off a great race, truck race in the PRL the other night. Actually last night, coming home in 4th in Martinsville, so going from the small track to NASCAR's biggest track here today.
First lap led that time by Edmondson. But I have to say, with Bisson Jr., who is on that outside line, trying to give that push to the 83 machine, he is one of the better drivers in the PRL series of races. He just needs, I think, the luck to be able to change the checker flags. Can he win this race tonight? Is the question.
You know, he does pretty good at these restrictor plate races. I've seen it before. Tyler Fody, though, doing the best right now to keep Tony Edmondson out in front of this thing. Great pushing going on. But I have to imagine already starting to hear lap 3, you got to start thinking about engine temperature if you're Tyler O'Neill and Tyler Fody and all those guys, because, well, you've already been running pretty close to each other here in the early stages of this race.
Yeah, you can't push forever. That's a great point there. Fody is trying to go that offset to the right. Has to get off the back bumper. Still nearly locked in, though, at Edmondson at that front. Meanwhile, the 83 dropping towards the back, 3 wide. Nearly came down on top of the 44's nose. Nearly cutting off that machine of Tyler Dixon. And nearly causing an incident.
Yeah, I've seen Alan Wilson here being locked into the middle, and I don't think that was necessarily by choice. He's blinked a few times in practice. There he goes again. Blinked a few times in practice. He's blinked a few times in the race. I don't think guys really want to be around him right now, but that's why I think he kind of ended up in the middle. But now a few guys kind of starting to latch on.
Yeah, and technical issues, you do not want those at a Superspeedway where you're going to be close quarters with your competitors all race. That's in part, I think, why he had the drop to the back there. Still might have to be in that situation. Has not completely dropped back yet. Jamie Dodds is now the lead car in that group, though, in the 91 machine.
Yeah, just about everybody that was on the high side has gone ahead and dropped back a few positions. Robert Bisson, I think, is the highest running that was originally on that high line, and he's now kind of 4th car in line up there. It's all about momentum, though. It takes a couple of laps for that second line to really start moving if they continue to work together, and you're just now starting to see it there with Jamie Dobbs starting to gain just a little bit going down the straightaways here. Let's see if he's able to get a little bit more as time goes along.
Fastest lap that time, by the way, Sean Ambrose, you see in the right-hand corner of your screen. That's in part because he's leading one of the last groups. It was at the tail end of pack number 2 off their draft. So keep an eye, though, on this lead group as Jamie Dobbs still working on high side. Now, the interesting thing to point with these lines for those that are watching Superspeedway racing for the first time, You are faster on the bottom in the corners because of the shorter distance. However, you're able to carry much more momentum down the straightaways as you're able to ramp it off the banking and pull your way down the straightaway. In some cases, you get that suction and side grab off the wall.
Yeah, right now, Jamie Dobbs getting a really solid push from Brandon Jackson behind him. And keep pushing him like that, he'll push him to the point that Tony Evanson might have to start thinking about maybe blocking that second lane. He thought about it a little bit too late right there. Jamie Dobbs, at least here for the time being, up to P1. So he was able to keep it going all the way down the start-finish line.
Brandon Jackson nearly went to the outside, thought better of making it 3 wide as he continues to push Dobbs, trying to get some air to the nose. Looking at the potential first lead change of the race as Dobbs at the stripe, that time by just a nose in front of Edmondson. He leads his first lap of the Breast Cancer Awareness 250. Still, 4 cars lined up on the top side at the moment. So around 8 to 9 at the bottom side. Drivers inside this lead pack from 1st to 16th, separated by just 1 second in distance.
This is all very much a chess game at Talladega because, well, as you saw on that outside line, they had a lot of great momentum going, and then it was all kind of got stopped whenever Brandon Jackson went to the outside, as he's doing right now. And it doesn't show up right away, but you already can lose that momentum there on the high side. And now, well, you see that high line just start to fall apart.
Yeah, Bart Jackson, I think, needed some air. Now is going to be shuffled all the way to the back of the pack as Bizarre Jr. takes his spot, as well as David Westergreen in the 22 machine. All the way to the back goes the 99 car as they continue to shuffle down on the bottom side. Bizarre Jr. moves from the bottom back up to the top side as Tyler O'Neill wants now get a push to try and lead.
Gotta hope there's at least a little bit of communication there, but either way, Robert Basaw knows what's coming there, so he's able to give sorry, you're still trying to learn names. Tyler O'Neill some room. So now already seeing the momentum start to pick up a little bit on the high side. Had a couple fast guys there get latched onto each other. Now if they can stay in line here, they can make a good run, but they've got to stay in line.
Now meanwhile, that second pack is currently trying to stay a little bit farther back, currently led by Jared Mogard. Right now they're about 0.6 of a second slower. At the moment, the gap between them and the lead group continuing to grow now, about 2 seconds between them and the leaders.
And that's fine. I mean, their goal is that if anything happens in that lead pack, they'll have enough time to react to it and everything else. You see Sean Ambrose at the tail end of that pack. He's got to do his best to not actually lose it. The danger is that if you lose the draft, it's only going to be a matter of time before you go a lap down if this thing stays under green. And the way things are going right now, we're clicking off laps at a pretty good pace. Leaders coming to lap 10 now. So you don't want to lose the draft at this point, but I understand keeping that second pack going.
That time Edmondson led the lap at the front of the pack. O'Neill couldn't get the edge. Was behind him by just about 3/1000ths of a second. Couple drivers electing to go to the back here as the technical issues continue now for Cognac all of a sudden. So Steve Rada and Blake Treywick have decided to shuffle to the back, and here comes the second group. Jared Mogard and his group of drivers have reeled in that gap as they've broken up the part a little bit in that lead group.
And I think this is the feeling right now that, you know, everybody's being clean so far. We don't want to let this get away from us too if this ends up going caution free, and that's kind of, I think, what they're thinking right now. Get back up there, start getting a little racy.
Yeah, especially since, say you use that fast repair, if you fall off the lead lap while using that fast repair, it takes you out of contention for the win unless you get a lucky caution.
You know, yeah, exactly. And then you have to hope that nobody went a lap down, that you're still in the spot for the lucky dog, or you're able to get to the wave around spot. You know, you need a lot of things to go your way in order to get back on the lead lap. And the thing with Talladega, though, is that people forget, because of this era of stage racing and everything else in the current NASCAR, love it or hate it, it really doesn't matter, because in the old days, there have had caution-free races in Talladega. It has gone caution-free several times, full 500-mile races here.
Sorry for nearly cutting you off. We are 3 wide in the lead pack. Jared Mogart working with Josh Walker and Brad Cross to work their way from the back end of the lead group all the way to the front. Jared Mogart and a few of his teammates mentioned when we seen them race at Talladega here on the Global SimRacing Channel that drivers didn't know potentially that he had a lot of drivers to work with in one of these series events. In turn, his teammates were amongst the majority of the top 5. Now, caution flag is out as we crash to the tri-oval. Ambrose involved, Honcho involved, Wesley Fuller involved. First yellow flag of the race.
Trying to see what happened here, loading up the GSRC replay machine. Whatever happened, it was in front of Sean.
34 and 75
yeah,
got
it looks like 34 kind of came up high, 15 was there, and then it was just a couple cars getting a little bit of damage out of that. I can imagine a few guys taking their fast repair.
Yeah, a lot of people. Nunez involved there with a ton of front nose damage. In fact, no more front nose. No more front nose in the 75. Ambrose now in a similar situation. Let's take a look here from our Global SimRacing Channel co-worker. As you can see, he sees the smoke, but as the cars move down the track, just nowhere to go.
See, that's part of the other danger too. You know, they run small brakes here at Talladega, so you don't stop as fast as you would other places. And you know, the whole idea is to try to leave yourself a little bit of room in case something happens. But sometimes a little bit of room isn't enough room, and Sean kind of found that out here right now.
So that incident involving 5+ cars brings out the first caution of the race at lap 12. And that will bring a lot of drivers to pit lane. Some of them are still sorting out where they need to be before they cross into the lane. But this is going to open up the strategy a little bit of drivers who might want to go to the back. But we're going to expect, at the very least, these cars want to pack their machines full of fuel.
See what kind of tire strategy we've got here too, if anybody decides to take all 4 or just maybe right sides. Looking here. Okay, I see a few guys going up on the jacks.
Edmondson missing his stall for a moment. That might affect the strategy a little bit more. Drivers like Jackson nearly missing their stall, in fact, are missing their stalls. But the first driver to get out of the pit lane will be O'Neal. Tyler O'Neal in the 18 machine comes out of the lane first. Edmondson falls to second. Tyler Fody comes out third. Robert Bashaw Jr. in fourth. Tyler Dixon rounds out the top 5. Jamie Dodds will also come out behind Alexander Cognac off the pit lane. So majority of the drivers taking some lengthy stops, about 14 to 15 seconds. We did see drivers like Bashaw Jr., though, take 10.7 second stops inside the pit lane.
So this will shuffle things up a little bit, but as you know at Talladega, unless we're talking about accidents, track position not as important as it is at some other places, though. Especially with the movement that we've seen here today, it seems like people are able to get up and move around at least from the front row on back, the second row on back in the pack. So see some of those guys that took a little bit more time on pit road. I'm sure they'll get back up there.
Especially with this package where you can see drivers go back and forth throughout the pack. With the previous restrictor plate package, you would need not just a lot of help, but potential luck to be able to manage your way up. With this package, you can get up much more quicker. It's sort of compared to, say, the truck series drafting package on the Superspeedways when you think about it.
Yeah, except the trucks, it's even more of the death knell if you lose the pack. I mean, you slow down almost 30 miles an hour compared to what the vehicles are in the pack in the trucks, where here it's a little bit closer to about 15 to 20. Still a lot, but you know, not as bad. Which but that also goes to account too for a little bit more power in these motors.
Yes, indeed. especially with these taper spacers, making sure they reach that 200 mile per hour speed. One thing to note, one of the teams, or groups of cars rather, we see go to the front, Cross, Mogart, Wells, along with Walker. They all elected to go to the back of the field in that pit window, stayed all the way as long as they can to hook up with each other. And this is something we've seen during the first run. They all migrated their way towards one another, then worked their way to the head of the field just before that caution flag.
And, you know, the thing that I'm worried about, though, is that yellow flags have a tendency of breeding yellow flags. So this may be more of the time to maybe try to get to the back than maybe even at the start of the race, because now people might try to feel a little bit more racy. We might have another one or two before people calm down again. But we do only have a little bit less than 40 laps to go. So
don't forget this race, of course, raising money for charity this evening for the NBCF. To donate today, go to fundraise.mbcff.org/give/251086 to donate today to raise funds for breast cancer awareness. That is the main focus for a lot of these drivers. In fact, when a couple of drivers were registering for this event, they said they definitely wanted to take part to raise money for a good cause.
You know, which is great, and nice to see the turnout here today. We ended up with 26 guys, and a good number of them are running, you know, breast cancer awareness schemes of some kind. It's always great here this time of year to see stuff like this, and you know, Sim Racers for Mental Health putting on a good show.
And a way to connect a lot of drivers, because not just from the Sim Racers for Mental Health Cup Series, but as well as we talked about a bit, the Precision Racing League and their network of series. One of those drivers that actually talked about racing with this group before was that 75 who was involved in the first caution in Hodgell, where he was a part of the PRL Sim Racers for Mental Health Showdown at Michigan a few months back. Was happy with that content of that race, the quality of the racing. That drawed him forward to take part in this charity race tonight, as he's going to be one of the drivers that are going to not have their fast repair available after being involved in the first caution.
Yeah, I'll be looking for some of those guys that had to take their fast repair to, you know, try to be taking care of each other, maybe fall back into the pack a little bit more. One guy that I'm kind of surprised, we'll have to see what happens. He kind of is the bad luck guy there was, of course, our very own Sean Ambrose, and he's now kind of running a little bit more in the middle of the pack. So it'll be interesting to see what he does here when they take the green flag.
Looks like Jackson electing to top off on fuel and stay at the back. When we restart this race with the one-to-go signal on the pace card, 38 laps to go, it is still a one-stopper on fuel. It's going to be very tight, though. It's going to make things wildly interesting if we stay green here, Adam, because there's the chance we see multiple different strategies now pop up because of this caution flag and the length of this caution.
Yeah, and it's one of those ones you definitely want people working with you. If you do decide to go an alternate strategy, it's also one that maybe you don't want to lead. You know, maybe you want to sit maybe fourth or fifth and use that draft to try to save a little bit of fuel, because the leaders can be at a tremendous disadvantage if we're pretty close.
Yeah, you burn as much as a gallon of fuel by being the lead car, as some drivers from the Peak Series will tell you. That will definitely deter you from wanting to be the lead car here, and if you be over aggressive, you're going to be one of those drivers panicking on fuel.
You know, and that's never a good thing, good place to be at a place like this, because if you happen to run out of fuel, could potentially be a long way around to try to get back to your pit stall. In fact, it might be too long. You might end up having to just go ahead and give it up and take the tow. We'll see, though. Lots of questions to be answered. I just have this burning feeling in the pit of my stomach, though, that we're not done with yellows, and of course you don't burn as much fuel under yellow.
I don't blame you with the caution breed cautions potential, especially at a track like Talladega. Remember, just a 5+ car incident for yellow flag number 1. As we're about to get underway with 38 laps to go, Tyler O'Neill in control of the field on the inside line in the Waffle House Toyota Camry. On the outside, Tony Edmondson once more. As they approach the restart zone, green flags waving up in the stand. We're back to racing at Talladega as the top line has a major checkup.
I have to wonder maybe if that was maybe a little bit by design. Is Tony Edmondson able to get back down to the bottom lane there, right in front of Tyler Fode? Robert Basaw Jr. trying to slide in now behind Fode. Is Edmondson already trying to go to the high side here?
Edmondson wants his lead back. Tyler Fode willing to work with him to help him. Those two drivers clearing the bottom line. They come back down as Edmondson is already back at the point. Only took him up a third of a lap.
Just being pushed right along by Fode, and just textbook to be able to get him back up there. And he'll probably try to push him here for a little bit, but already trying to stick his nose just enough out to the right to try to catch him there. Robert Basaw thinking maybe the same thing, but he didn't really have anybody to go with him. Now, a few guys start thinking about trying to get that high line working. We'll have to see who ends up actually making that move and committing to that move. So far, the only one in the top 10 has been Jamie Dobbs.
Yeah, Dobbs right now trying to work on the high side. Dixon, though, just going to let him dry on the outside, as well as Steve Rada. Trying to keep up with Nunez a couple car lengths back, as a majority of the drivers, maybe thinking of that field strategy, already staying on the bottom side and going down there and sticking down there. Drivers like Nunez, in fact, checking up to find their way to that line.
Yeah, and a few of these guys already thinking that, hey, you know, if we can get down there and just kind of ride it out too, you know, that could help our cause a little bit.
Yeah, right now, Dobbs again trying to get that outside line working. Nobody wants to work with them, so it looks like they're now have to drop to the back. Alan Wilson, the third, fills the hole. Dobbs, though, I don't think he wanted to drop this far back. He's dead even at speed down the end of the straightaways. However, there are no holes to get moving all the way back as outside the top 15. Major checkups. Drivers on the apron. Jaron Mogart forced onto the apron as he tries to keep it safe. He does keep it stable as he nearly spun out trying to avoid a checkup.
You know, and he still has some front end damage, so I wonder if he took his fast repair or not in that. He didn't get the front end damage from the incident here where he got forced down.
Yeah, there was a massive checkup in turn 3, and the damage was there prior to the checkup with the 00, so might want to keep that potential fast repair at least in the back pocket, because there's also the argument if you take it too early or take it by accident, you might wish you had it back later on.
It's always been my philosophy in our full-length majors races is try to hold on to that fast repair for as long as humanly possible. And even went many races where I just didn't use it at all, even with a little bit of damage, just because I always worried about something trying to take me out later on down the line.
The counter argument on top of that too is I've seen Malik Ray in the same package drive to the front with a crushed in front nose. Then again, he's a peak driver, and that was again in a fixed setup race. But right now, Basaw Jr. wants to lead this race for the Breast Cancer Awareness 250. Jamie Dobbs, he's found someone working with him on that top line, side by side down the back stretch.
They got to be careful here, be able to complete this pass before the momentum dies out. It's already trying to die out a little bit. You got a couple more cars there on the outside, including Alan Wilson and Brandon Jackson. They really need to get back up to the back end of Jamie Dobbs in order to get something going here, but got a little bit of distance between them.
Still ways to go in this race. Just past 33 laps to go. 32 laps to go this time by one of the drivers that ducked down on the final pace laps. Brandon Jackson, he's now back up to the front. He has an extra lap of fuel in his tank as well as they check up on the bottom side. Edmondson, a huge lift.
Yeah, that outside line almost getting formed up as Alan Wilson's now going to get pushed to the outside. Not able to do anything with it. He's going to get kind of hung out to dry just a little bit, but falls back in line. So now you're back to about having a 10-car pack up there.
Right now, about 9 cars that are within the section, even more so. Overall that are within the draft. Guys going 3 wide up the middle to try and move up. Nearly making contact with the 22 at the end of the pack. Western Green nearly got squeezed by one of the Hooters cars while trying to also go 3 wide with Sean Ambrose. However, they are now being picked up by that group I was referring to that ducked down. That Wells Cross, Walker, and Mogart group is now working their way up the middle line towards the end of the lead pack. Now it's going to be the question here, Adam. How far do they push, especially knowing these drivers will have to pit for fuel if it goes green?
Right now, nobody's taking it easy for sure. Jamie Dobbs now getting stuck on the outside. That outside line, you need even more people to work with you than you do the middle line, try to get that working, and nobody seems to want to go out there, and I don't blame them here at this point. But that inside line still has the majority of the movement, but also with that Tony Evanson burning up the most gas. And I'd have to think Tyler Fode, even though he's been fully in his draft, he's been pushing him and probably not saving as much as you might think here at this point, where he's really saving the gas. Guys like Rankin Jackson, Tyler Dixon, Alan Wilson, Steven Rada, those are the guys that are loving this.
Yeah, having the draft pulled them as well as being able to, say, go 3/4 throttle instead of full throttle, compared to what some of those drivers are currently doing. At the head of the field, Edmondson 196 miles an hour, 197 for Bashad Jr., though guys like Fode are lifting to the 194s. 3 wide, though, for the lead pack. Cross, along with his teammates, now on that high side, wanting to take over the lead of the group.
Just to give you an idea, these guys going 196, 197 miles an hour.
Trouble! Big crash coming up. The 83 gets involved, spun around, caution flag is out. How in the world did that involve more cars? Alan Wilson tried to come up to block that 3 wide group, had some technical issues in the middle of the corner, and then got doored by the 2 machine. Went through a car, went through a second car, squeezed Mogart into the fence, and brings out the yellow flag. That should have been much more worse.
It's almost thankful he's had some connection problems tonight, which kind of allowed him to ghost through a few guys and not make it any worse than it already was. A few guys ended up with some superficial damage. I don't see anybody with anything major, so I think you're going to have a bunch of guys that don't need to take a fast repair. And the question's going to be, too, if these guys want to come down and get any more fuel or not. Because, well, I think this caution period, if they can save some gas or caution here, might take fuel out of the equation.
They can make it from fuel from here. I can guarantee that with 29 laps to go, coming in 28 when the pit lane opens up here. Drivers will be able to make it now with the caution flag. But here's another look. Again, they were shuffling a lot. See that 83 actually go through some drivers. If he didn't go through some of those cars, that would have involved at least 5-10 cars minimum down the Alabama game super stretch. Instead, now the caution flag brings us back to a crawl, and everyone getting ready to come back down the lane to try and make it to the end. Coming to 28 laps to go. Edmondson, Jackson, Fode, Bashad Jr., and Cross round out the top 5 as they speed the way up to the pace car all the way in turn 4. And this is still going to open up the strategy game. We just hit about, 12 laps to go at the very most here, Adam. That was under caution at 40 to go. We still could see a lot of drivers take 2 or no tires here.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see a few guys maybe take 2 tires. We'll have to see. In fact, I would think right now, if you're coming down pit road, about the only reason that you're going to need to is going to be wanting to take maybe just at least 2 tires. Maybe if you took right sides last time, maybe you'll take lefts, even though you really don't need to. But it might give you just that little bit extra grip.
And I'm glad you mentioned that term, grip. A lot of these drivers might get very slippery if they don't take the tires. A couple drivers here taking 2 or none. Jackson to the race lead, but Bashad Jr. comes out in second. Both of them taking 7 to 8 second pit stops. to try and make it to the end on fuel. Edmondson, Fody, Rana, and a majority of the others taking 4 tires and fuel to have that grip you're referring to. Again, 27 laps to go this time by. We'll continue with our coverage of more racing. For the Sim Racers for Mental Health, Breast Cancer Awareness 250. After these messages, you're watching the Global SimRacing Channel from the virtual Talladega Superspeedway in Talladega, Alabama. Welcome back, everyone, to the Global SimRacing Channel's coverage of the Breast Cancer Awareness 250. Funds for the National Breast Cancer Foundation. Drivers now have the 1-to-go signal coming at 26 laps to go. Good to go on fuel. We will see an interesting strategy on this restart. We do see this in a lot of league racing. For those that don't know, here at the Superspeedways and at various other tracks, Brandon Jackson is electing to start on the high side this time, it seems.
You know, and I find that interesting just because of the, the lack of and how long it takes that high line to really get going here. So I guess we'll see what he has in mind here. Probably because you got Tyler Fody back there, and Tyler Fody's been a really good pusher here.
I was about to say that's probably the thought. Why not line up with Fody, who, mind you, is one of the top drivers of PRL this season? And it's going to be interesting to see how it works. It will make it tougher, pardon me, for the driver on the inside line, because if they pass that car on the outside, that will potentially give them a black flag. Jackson already ahead by a car length as we head to the start zone. Fody way back, and that's why drivers elect to take the top. A major jump by Jackson, up by a car length, make it 3 car lengths. That's going to make it tough, though, once they get to the backstretch here, Adam.
Yeah, that's going to work out for you at a place like Kansas or Charlotte, as far as getting a jump like that. Here, no, he's going to get swallowed up pretty quick, maybe even by the time he gets to the end of the backstretch or going into 3 and 4.
And this is why you don't want a giant jump. Jackson breezed on by like a rolling stone by Edmondson and Fody. They say, bye-bye, we'll take our lead back. Thank you very much as Jackson falls back into the draft into third. Outside line trying to form meanwhile. Steve Rada now working with William Kruska.
You know, and Robert Bassett Jr. was the real loser in that one because he just had nowhere to go when Brandon Jackson kind of got in front of him going so slow. So he ended up losing out on that. But here comes Brandon Jackson back on Tyler Fody. Robert Bassett Jr. is going to go with him. And now we got a high line going here again.
The aggression level potentially could go higher now that drivers know they can make it on fuel. Coming to 24 laps to go this time by Jackson and Bassett Jr. working on the top side. Dobbs wants to follow. Can't connect to the draft though as Jackson just can't get in front of the front bumper of Edmondson to clear to the bottom side as they reconnect down low.
Like he was talking about earlier in the broadcast, just 2 cars sitting on that second line. I mean, it might work for just a little while with some of the pushing, but eventually that line's going to die out if you only have 2 guys up there like that. You do have on the outside there, it looks like that is David Westergreen that's trying to get up there, but just can't here so far. Actually, got a few more cars trying to move up. That's Wayne White Jr. and David Westergreen now on the back end of him.
And Wayne White Jr., that's a name we haven't even mentioned at all today. Started at 14, lost 7 from the drop of the green flag. And that number 9 car wants to follow along. You see on board the 22, he's now at the back end of that top line draft. It's now got 4 cars instead of 2. Make it 5 because William Kruska now joins that line.
Starting to see it, and starting to see that the inside line guys get a little bit more physical on the bumping. Was actually watching just a moment ago as Tyler Dixon was bumping Tyler Fody, who in turn was bumping Tony Edmondson. It doesn't always work out so well, as sometimes the guy in the middle just gets pushed right out of the way.
The pack right now, very gigantic. The gap between first and 16th, about 9/10 of a second. As they go side by side, still down the backstretch, 7 rows deep. Potentially could go as high as 8 or 9 at the moment, still side by side, up in the front. Dixon trying to keep the gap closed, as that outside line still a bit separated by a car length to the back end of Bassett Jr. and Jackson.
Not a single person has fallen out of this race. 26 cars started, we still got 26 out there.
And it's going to be the question, will all 26 make it to the checkered flag? We have seen a couple of drivers use fast repairs. Vast majority of the field still have them though. 3 wide started form at the very back end of this lead group though. And you can take a guess of which group that is. That's that 34, 30, 00, and 10 combo we have seen all race trying 4-car draft essentially up to the front of the group. They're trying to make it 3 wide on Nunez along with the 42 machine at the moment of Cognac.
Already seeing guys kind of moving around a little bit, you know, whether it be intentional or maybe just the draft moving them around a little bit more than it was earlier on. But that could spell disaster here in a little bit. We're getting to the point now where we're hitting 20 to go, so these guys be looking for some moves.
Especially with $15 to the race winner tonight in this charity event for the Breast Cancer Awareness 250. 20 to go this time by, as Fody still continues to push Edmondson to the bottom side. 3-car tango down low, 2-car tango stays up high. Jackson still can't find a way to clear with Bassett Jr. despite the pushing continuing from that Chevrolet Camaro in the 97 machine. Still trying to find air on the nose as now we're 3 wide. Charging up is a 3, make it 4-car group as mentioned.
Should mention, of those 26 cars still running, 18 of them within 1 second of each other right now.
And really, only 6 drivers are not a part of the lead pack. Brandon Jackson, Tyrone O'Neill, Alan Wilson III, Daniel Magason, Wesley Ford, Brent Jones, all of them are the only drivers not in this battle for the race lead in the lead pack. Bottom line is starting to really spread out as drivers migrate to the top 2 lines, seeing the two working hard Josh Walker, Brent Cross blocked up on the top side as Sean Ambrose charges on the lower line behind the lead cars.
Yeah, Sean knows. He knows that it's getting ready to be go time, and he's starting to try to make a move.
Still now 3 wide, back down to 2 and 1 wide as the groups start to break up. So it looks like Walker and his tandem of drivers electing to reset. Ambrose electing to fall back to the end of their pack. Nunez still working in the middle line at the back end of the lead group still. As they continue to shuffle out, Jackson trying to side draft the edge of Edmondson's car. Still though, dying off as they go 3 wide down the backstretch.
Oh, Brandon Jackson, is he going to get stuck in the middle? No, they're going to leave a saw out to dry. One car still.
That's the 44. That is
Tyler Dixon.
Remember, he was one of the drivers trying to three-car draft.
He kind of got caught up a little bit on that banking transition there, and kind of got him a little sideways, so he figured the safest course of action was just to try to ride it down low, and that's what he did. It's going to cost him the draft, but he still has a race car and didn't take anybody else out with him.
The track temp may be the coolest it's been, but that was one of the main thoughts. When you've seen drivers take 2 or 4 or no tires with the grip levels. On the corner entry of turn 3, especially with the fixed setup, you can get loose if you're on no or 2 tires for the entire race, Adam.
Yeah, and of course it didn't help in his case too, getting hung up on that braking transition. One thing that I really always had difficulty, especially when you're pushing somebody on the low line going into 3, is you kind of lose track of where the actual turn-in is going to be sometimes. That could cost you just a little bit of momentum and time getting caught up high.
Dobbs getting a push from Jackson that time by. He takes the race lead now in the 91 machine. As he now leads that bottom line. One of the things that is on the back bumper for Jamie Dobbs, he's a better puller than a pusher for the Indy Auto Sport machine. Now, he's getting a push from behind from the 43 along with the 40 of 40. Shuffle back into the top line. Caution flag is out as the big one at Talladega. Multiple drivers involved.
Some of those guys already took their faster pairs that's on that one. He just didn't hit that turn-in point. Kind of drift up a little bit high. Edmondson stuck his nose in there, and that's at least 10, 15, maybe even 12 cars involved in that one.
Yeah, we're going to have to take a look at this Global SimRacing Channel replay, and you can see it was right as you mentioned. He's started coming back up to the middle line, then trying to come back down the bottom right across the nose of Edmondson, and then calamity ensues.
See, Sean Ambrose, he was involved in that. He already had to take a faster pair, so he's probably going to be done for this race. I think a few other guys had to take faster pairs earlier, too, so they'll be done as well.
Try and take a look at William Cruz's angle here. He was on the bottom line, make it the top line, I should rather say, down that backstretch. And had to avoid a lot of cars. He actually started checking up a bit just before that incident. As you can see, had to thread the needle there, Adam, to avoid multiple spinning and hitting race cars.
Yeah, it got tight in a hurry. You know, one guy that I'm pretty sure he's glad he got shuffled to the back when he did is Robert Bassett Jr. He's able to keep all the action in front of him and came way out of that thing without a scratch. So, you know, he showed some power. I'm going to be looking for him to maybe try to make a move here toward the end of this thing now that he's clean.
At least 10 cars involved in the big one here at Talladega. And that's going to draw a lot of cars into different situations here. Already a lot of drivers having to duck their way down to the pit lane to use their faster pairs that they have been saving after that calamity in turn 3 and 4. First, the driver, Steve Rado, on with Wayne White Jr., Andreas Nunez, Jared Mogart, William Kruzka, many others, all ducking down to the pit lane this time by as we get ready to go to the home stretch here for the Breast Cancer Awareness 250 here, Adam.
Yeah, it's going to be, this is when the action heats up. We may not be done with the yellows or the big wrecks here yet. because now is when people are going to start having to try to be aggressive about getting back up to the front. And you might have a few cars out there that have a little bit of damage to mix it up too, and they could be just as fast as long as they're in the draft, but even then, it's going to make things interesting.
Or in the cases of, say, as you mentioned, Ambrose, you no longer have a front nose. You're going to have to deal with potential engine damage. You're going to have to deal with the severe back-end damage. And you're going to have to hope that in some way you can stay on the lead lap. It's going to be very difficult to even hold on to the draft if you've got damage. The drivers, as you can see, up at the front, though, Edmondson, Fody, Jackson, Honcho, and Dixon in the top 5 out.
Now, keep in mind, too, okay, there is incentive for these guys to finish this race. I mean, not only does it just look better in terms of what we're here for tonight with breast cancer awareness and everything else, but you got to remember that you're going to get two $5 awards out there as long as we have 20 finishers and as long as you finish the race. So you have some incentive to try to keep your car out there and just stay out of the way.
There's still a lot of drivers getting repairs or finishing up the fast repairs, wanting to be at the back of the pack here for this, what could be second to last or final restart, not to jinx it here in this race. Yeah, they have that incentive, absolutely. So these drivers going to want to push, especially in this charity race and wanting to finish in this event for a good cause.
Now, we've been talking about fuel and everything else, and I think maybe either it's habit or whatever, because of course they couldn't have problems with fuel, but I have heard Tony Edmondson and Tyler Fody actually, either clutching their engines or absolutely just turning them off at certain points here under yellows. So interesting that they might be trying to save a little bit.
Don't forget, though, that could also cool the temps while you do that, holding the clutch, as well as turning off that engine. If you hold the clutch, you'll see the water pressure start to drop, lowers down both the oil and water temps. Engine also can help cool that down, Adam.
Yeah, it worked better on some of the previous models than what it does now. Now it doesn't quite work as well as it used to.
What do you mean by that?
What I mean is it doesn't cool you down as much as it used to. They kind of detune that just a little bit. At least that's what I'm hearing from some of the peak guys, just because of a little bit more real world. I mean, in real world, you want to keep that all the fluid and everything going through the radiator, through the water pump, and everything else to try to keep fluid going through the engine, and so that gets a little bit more weight than simply just turning it off here at this point.
First time I actually heard about that. That's actually insightful. We do have one to go, by the way, as these drivers get ready. It looks like Edmondson's going to be on the top side, Fody on the bottom side here for this restart. We might see a similar start as the last time, if I'm looking at this correctly.
Yeah, you're looking at Tony Edmondson wanting to take the high side, Tyler Fody on the bottom. They're going to try to get matched up again, I think. Of course, that didn't work out too well the last time when we saw the huge run that I think it was Jackson that got there, and he got swallowed up pretty quick. Right now, only 2 cars remaining on pit road. Sean Ambrose has come back down for a few more repairs, and Steven Stegelman's still down there as well. But definitely some other torn-up race cars.
24 drivers getting ready on the racetrack for this restart. 13 laps to go when they get the green flag. Again, Edmondson and Fody on the front row. Jackson, Honcho in row number 2. Row 3, Dixon and Johnson. Cognac is inside the top 8 along with Wayne White Jr. as we get ready to let the glow pedal go back going. Jackson already getting close to the back bumper. Tyler Fody as they approach the restart zone here at Talladega. Each time they've waited all the way to the green flag. Edmondson getting up in front of Fody's nose on the top side. As the green flag waves up with a stand, we're back to racing at Talladega. And as we expect in major checkup, that forces tire spin from Jackson.
I think Tyler Fody was off the gas a little bit to let Edmondson get in front of him, and that just really checked up things out. Oh, again, cars turn.
Cars still spinning. 91 of Dobbs off the racetrack. We're still green, though. William Kruzka saves it from going inside traffic. A couple drivers getting tagged. Dobbs went in front of the nose of William Kruzka and collected a couple cars. We are still green, though, down the back stretch.
might take them out of contention unless we have another yellow, but they dig it away mostly clean. And looking at an aggressive move by Brandon Jackson, going from the top side down all the way down to the bottom, and slipping in behind Fody.
Driver shuffling to the bottom side, making 2 cars working on the top side. Brandon Johnson and Bashad Jr. working together. However, not enough cars. Bashad Jr. ditches the 24 machine up on the top line. With that incident, the lead group, just 9, maybe 10 cars at the very most. That broke up the pack big time. The next car's about 2+ seconds back for the leader. Johnson now ducks down to the bottom side as they now line up. This will help the draft now. Cognac, after all, a very bizarre incident, the second straight incident in a row that we see with the 91 car. Let's take a look at that replay because, Adam, it was an interesting one because it looked like Dobbs just came across the nose of Kruzka.
It did. He was just trying to make a move, and you know, you can't do it when there's another object there. And next thing you know, we got some cars going around.
There were 3 wide heading into turn 1, mind you. I don't think Dobbs realized that.
No, I don't think so either. And I found out in a hurry, though, and that's just the way things sometimes happen here, is things are done quick, and they're done quick enough, too, that sometimes the spotter is either too late to tell you or you're already committed, at which point it's just going to be a disaster. Interesting, though, here, we're getting down to about 10 laps to go, and the lead pack here so far going single file, just trying to get to the end here and then go racing.
And maybe trying to line themselves up before the calm, before the storm. However, one driver does want to charge forward just at the edge of the yellow line that time by. You see Tyler Dixon move his way up to the 4th position. 10 laps to go this time for the Breast Cancer Awareness 250. Drivers stay single file heading into turns 1 and 2. This leads to the question, though. When do you make the move if you want to win this race?
We've seen some guys be able to get up there pretty quick, but if you're wanting to get that outside line actually going and bring guys with you, you probably have to start thinking about doing that with maybe about 3 or 4 to go, because it takes a little bit for the momentum to get going. And so far, not really seeing anybody doing that, as Jason Hounshell's the only guy on the outside.
Hounshell currently being ditched in the green and black cars. You see Fody all over the back bumper of Edmondson through the tri-oval just about. A little bit of cushion being built this time, though, for Jackson. He is lifting, heading to the corner down to 189 miles an hour. This is going to make things interesting down the backstretch. Might be trying to time a huge run. Jackson building back up the speed as to be expected. Trying to get back outside. Not enough cars working with them, though, as the run dies halfway down the backstretch out.
Yeah, you're going to have a coordinated effort. The saw really swings out wide. I think that caught David Westergreen a little bit off guard. He had to lift out of it, and I don't think Basaw saw him there, so he kind of lifted out of it too, but they latched back on. Basaw's going to swing back out now to the outside. So far, the only other guy that's out there is Jason Hounshell, but I don't think they're close enough to really work. Wayne White thought about it for a second, got better, and slips back in line.
Again, Jackson, though, wanting to back off those top 2 drivers. Not as much this time, though. You can't get massive runs with this year's package. He's boxed in, however, as Bashad Jr. gets side by side, and he's found some friends. Westergreen and Hounshell are now on the outside line. 3 drivers trying to make the line work as Edmondson pokes his car a bit to the right, heading to the banking.
You saw Basaw there really use that side draft really to his advantage, try to get a little bit more up there. Needs a little bit more time, I think, to get the momentum going and really complete that move. But now is the point where things are going to start to get interesting as we hit 7 to go.
Jackson still trying to get moving on the bottom side, this time not lifting. Trying to find a way to clear it. Now 4 cars, though, line up on the top, coming to 6 laps to go this time, down the back stretch. The group, though, is not coordinated enough here, Adam. They're actually breaking up on that top line. About a car length and a half difference between those 2 different tandems.
Yeah, they're going to have to get in line and stay in line to do anything here. Robert Basaw inching up on Tony Edmondson, but if they don't get back in line, that momentum is going to die out. Now, there is a second pack here, but they are not a factor at this point. A few damaged cars back there, so we'll stay up front.
Yeah, that pack right now just a couple tenths faster than these machines. However, they're 5.5 seconds back, as you see on the GSRC pylon. Lap car of Dobbs stays up on the high side this time, as they'll be getting the 5 to go signal. The high five for the flag stand. This time by Edmondson still leads down the backstretch. Basaw Jr. gets the push for the 22 as they continue to tandem draft down the bottom and top sides.
I want to point out real quick, Alexander Cognac is back in the 10th spot. He's the last car in this pack, but at the beginning of this race, he had lost the draft. It was only about a quarter of a lap from going a lap down, so great recovery drive for him to get back up in the top 10. And who knows what he can get up here with the way these guys are starting to race. It looks like David Westergreen's starting to think about maybe trying to make a move around Robert Basaw. Right now, he needs to think about pushing Robert Basaw more than anything.
Some of these drivers started outside the top 10, mind you. +7 for Cognac, +5 White Smith for White Jr. from the start of the race, +12 for Brandon Johnson, Poncho +4, with Westergreen a +10 as well in this group. Nearly going 3 wide down the backstretch, now going 3 wide as the 75 is ditched. As they go 3 wide into turn 3, Brandon Johnson ditching the 75.
Just Basaw has nobody pushing him here at this point, and that's what that outside line needs, and they need to get it going now as we're at 4 to go. Time is running out to really get momentum going.
And you have to wonder, is the 22 wanting to save air, or not wanting to work with him, or not wanting to make this push too early? Looks like, though, he will push down the backstretch. Tries to lock bumpers, can't completely seal it up, though. He doesn't have a full seal with that pointed Chevrolet Camaro nose that you talked about and in the pre-race, making it very hard to push if you're in a Camaro.
It does, and you got to push them just right if you are, but this is at the point of the race, though, where you're going to kind of start to think about maybe throwing it out the window and just hoping that you're going to get to the front. I mean, let's face it, it is a charity race. There's no points on the line. Go for the race win. Get yourself $15 if you can.
This time by Robert Basaw Jr. led the lap as we're coming at 2 laps to go. Still side by side, more lap cars down the backstretch, though. Ambrose and Magason will be up in front of them. Up the middle goes Jackson, 3 wide for the battle for the top 5 position. Can Jackson keep up the run? Get some drafting help as Westergreen shuts the door in the middle.
Having to get that sorted out pretty quick before they go 4 wide here. They're coming up on the lap car of Sean Ambrose and also Daniel Migason. Daniel Migason still kind of running that low line a little bit. We'll see if he drifts up high. Actually, he's going to get off the gas, let them go by. So you can have lap cars on the top, lap cars on the apron here.
And a huge shot that time. Nearly sent Basaw Jr. hard to the inside line. Major checkup on the outside, coming at 2 laps to go. Jackson still going to work with them. Westergreen, though, dropped all the way to the back of the lead group. Now it's going to be the question, does Edmondson and Fody stay hooked up along with Dixon, or does Fody jump out for this win?
Right now, he might be blocked from doing so by Basaw, as now Jackson is actually pushing Basaw, and you can see the gains they're getting with the side draft and everything else. Basaw very well might lead this lap if they go through the trial here. He's got enough momentum to carry him through, coming to the white flag.
If they get the white flag, the race is official. White flag is up. We're racing to the checkered as Basaw Jr. clears on by the inside, ditches Jackson. How will they line up down the backstretch, though? Edmondson trying to get a push through the turn. 43, all loose off the corner. Fody ditches him as they go 3 wide down the backstretch. Cars making contact. Jackson shuffled all the way to the top. 3 wide, couple rows deep as they fight hard in 3 and 4. Basaw Jr. leads the bottom group. Fody on the top line. Jackson gives a shot to Edmondson. Nearly hooks Dixon. Through the triangle they go. Bumping and baiting. Fody gets turned. Bashaw Jr. gets hooked. To the checkered flag. Edmondson wins it. Edmondson wins the Breast Cancer Awareness 250. And that's not the finish I think Bashaw Jr. wanted to see. And just defines his luck on the Cup side in the PRL side of racing.
Yeah, you'll see and he was just a victim here. I mean, Fody was the one that ended up kind of getting bumped a little bit, and Fody just kind of got him in the quarter panel after he got turned a little bit. I mean, no control, really nobody's fault, just close racing coming to the checkered flag, but Edmondson keeps his foot in it, takes her home.
And Edmondson had been leading a vast majority of this race, Adam, working with Fody, and he wanted to be at the lead of the pack, and it worked out perfectly for him in this 43 machine. Even though this is not the way I don't think he would want to win this race with the incident, he is the one who takes this checkered flag, leading a majority of these laps tonight. With that, we'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll have your post-race coverage for tonight's Sim Racers for Mental Health Breast Cancer Awareness 250 for the virtual Talladega Superspeedway. You're watching the Global SimRacing Channel. Welcome back, everyone, to tonight's coverage of the Sim Racers for Mental Health Breast Cancer Awareness 250, raising funds for the National Breast Cancer Foundation. It was a crazy finish once more here at Talladega as they crashed the checker flag, but in the end, Tony Edmondson, who led a majority of the laps tonight, was the one who took the victory and the $15 grand prize. Tyler Dixon, he started inside the top 10 and was a major pusher in the final laps of this race. He came home in second. Tyler Fody was hooked up with the back end of Tony Edmondson a majority of this race. He finished inside the top 3. Brandon Jackson finished 4th with David Westergreen in 5th. Jason Hodgshell in 6th with Brandon Johnson getting ditched in the closing laps, finishing in 7th. Started all the way back in 20th. Wade White Jr. finished in 8th with Robert Bichon Jr. crashing coming towards the checkered flag, looking like he was the potential driver to beat much of the evening. He finishes in 9th instead. Brad Cross rounds out the top 10 Adam.
Yeah, looking back in 11th position. This is kind of getting back into that second group there, which also had a little bit of a rough run to the checkered flag. Tyler O'Neill, Stephen Rada, Alan Wilson in 13th, Josh Walker in 14th, Brent Jones in 15th, Wesley Fuller in 16th, William Krushka in 17th, Alexander Cognac, who did have himself a good run going there for a little while, a recovery drive, he's the efficient 18th, Blake Trewick in 19th, and Jared Morgard in 20th.
Reason Cognac is all the way back there. He hit the shot Jr. and spun around coming to the line. Nunez finished in 21st, meanwhile a lap down. Jimmy Dobbs finished the last car 1 lap down in 22nd. Wells finished 23rd, 2 laps down. The rest of the drivers 3 laps down or more. Magnuson 3 laps down 24th. Sean Ambrose 5 laps down 25th. 1 DNF the entire race. Steven Stagelman. That's a look at your unofficial race results for tonight's Breast Cancer Awareness 250. It was a wild race here at Talladega this evening. As we continue on with the post-race coverage here, Adam, and lots of competitive drivers tonight. Why don't we talk to some of those drivers? I believe we have Tyler Dixon. We'll set points here in this broadcast.
Lowercase T and then 9.
Hello, Tyler. You're in the Global SimRacing Channel broadcast booth. Do you have a copy?
Yes, sir.
Apologies for interrupting. Social media tags, it sounded like, or something along those lines. A good race for you, finishing inside the top 5 in 2nd spot. Talk us through your race from your perspective.
Absolutely, yeah. I tried to keep it up front most of the race. Got a little hairy there in the middle. Had to drop back, but was able to get back up there during that pit stop, and yeah, that's just about how it went.
It was a crazy run towards the end, a 13-lap shootout. What was going through your head as you were trying to help push that bottom line forward? In fact, pushing 2 cars at once at some points.
Yeah, main thing we had really going into this race, we wanted one of our team's cars to get the win. So that was really the main goal, just trying to make sure one of our teammates got the win. So we were just really focused on pushing.
Yeah, it seemed like that tonight. I'm not sure exactly which team camp, but I've seen you do the burnouts with Edmondson. Fody was also pushing Edmondson much the night, if my connections are correct with that one. But all this was for a great cause here tonight, here, Tyler, raising funds for breast cancer awareness. Your take on that?
Absolutely, yeah. No, it's a real big deal for me. It's really good to be able to raise some money for that cause. Just really happy to get the iRace for the cause. So that's really awesome.
Is there anyone you want to thank for being a part of your race tonight on the way to the 2nd place finish?
Absolutely. Just a big shout out to Tyler Fody for helping me out with this, as long as Tony Edmondson, man. Congrats on the win. That's awesome. Just really glad with our team and how we did.
Congratulations on the 2nd place finish here tonight, Tyler. Definitely happy for you and your team.
Thank you.
That was Tyler Dixon coming away 2nd tonight in the 44 machine. Very happy from a team perspective for tonight's charity event. Standing by with the 3rd place finisher and Tyler Fody is Adam Young. Adam?
Yeah, Tyler, you were getting yourself a reputation out there, being a pretty good pusher out there. Man, heck of a drive. Tell us about it.
Yeah, man, was awesome. The ending's a little crazy there, but we got the result. No, just trying to work with Tony there and Dixon. And was able to stay with Tony most of the race, so that went pretty well. And yeah, a little crazy, but we got the result.
At the end of the day, though, I mean, yeah, sure, it got a little crazy at the end of the race. That's to be expected at Talladega, but relatively, other than that, clean race up front.
Yeah, I was surprised with how strong me and Tony were on the bottom. Normally, if the outside can get hooked up pretty well, that's the preferred line. But no, we were hooked up pretty well, so it was pretty easy just to ride there on the bottom.
All right, well, hey, Tyler, just shy of coming home with $15. It was still a pretty good run for you. Hopefully we'll see you out there next time.
Yeah, no, it was awesome to race for the cause tonight, and real fun, so thank you.
That was Tyler Fody coming away third tonight in the number 40 Napa Ford Mustang. The guy who won the $15, though, in this charity event was Tony Edmondson in a team effort. Tony, how does it feel to win the Breast Cancer Awareness 250 tonight?
Oh, it feels pretty good. It's going to feel better when I spend that little lump sum of cash there, hopefully.
It was a crazy race, it looked like, especially up the front. You and Fody were hooked up nearly the entire race, it seemed. And then the crazy switch started getting turned around that 13 lap to go final shootout. What was going through your head as you guys were trying to rush your way towards the checkered flag?
Man, to be quite honest with you, I was just trying to keep that car straight and out of the wall. And then I was just trying to keep Fody and the teammates behind me. So we had a really good run there. I had a pretty quick car, it seemed like. And I'm just glad we got it done.
How difficult was it to keep the car straight? You're mentioning trying to keep it away from the wall.
Well, I mean, just out of the wall, like keep it, not wrecked.
I was referring to how difficult was it to try and keep holding on as the bumps continue to keep on, and basically it was, at some points, a 3-car bump draft down the backstretch.
I mean, you just really got to keep that wheel straight. You got to hold on for dear life, like nothing else depended on it. And just it came out all right, but it's pretty hard. But we held on.
Now, of course, tonight this race raising funds for breast cancer awareness through the National Breast Cancer Foundation. Of course, a great cause to raise funds for. How do you feel about winning this event tonight for a special cause?
It feels great, man, and I had to make sure I got something pink on the car. I was really wanting to put a big old ribbon on the hood, but I couldn't figure out how to make that happen. So I did with what I could, tried to represent a little bit for the cause.
Is there anyone you want to thank before we let you go for being a part of your victory tonight?
I want to thank Fody for all that damn pushing he gave me tonight, and I want to thank Dixon for a great finish last night. And Alex Cognac, another one of our teammates, they did an awesome job. And shout out to the boys back at NASCAR Tech. And Mom and Dad, love y'all. Thank you.
Congratulations on the victory tonight, Tony. Your mom and dad will definitely be happy after this one.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
That was Tony Edmondson coming away with the checker flag. He was the pole setter. He took home the victory tonight. Adam, your quick final thoughts before we say goodbye here tonight.
As usual, a charity event showed off some great racing. There wasn't anything that was un-Talladega-like, I'll put it like that. A few minor incidents, ended up having one big one, but for the most part, clean racing. And it was great racing, and I really enjoyed it.
It was definitely a fun race, and all for a good cause tonight to raise funds for breast cancer awareness. Overall, we'd like to thank you for tuning in to tonight's exciting action here from the Talladega Superspeedway. We'd also like to thank William Kruska for organizing this race, all for a good cause this evening. We'd also like to thank the companies that provide our software and hardware for our broadcast now listed up on your screen, with additional thanks to June Wan, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of her great work. Thanks again to the team tonight of Adam and Joe for this evening. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including the upcoming races on the schedule, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. Or you can check out our social media on Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global SimRacing Channel in one word, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. Don't forget to head over to our YouTube page and hit that big red subscribe button, as well as the notification bell, so you don't miss a moment here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Lots of racing action coming up here on GSRC, as well as on the iRacing eSports Network. Be sure to look on the screen and mark those down on your calendar. Lots of racing coming up, including the Sim Racers for Mental Health postseason from Texas. But until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.